Okay, here we go.
There have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Full video's wild. Really? They said he won't even promote half black people that don't look black enough? Bro, where's this how long? I gotta watch this. There's no shot. What's this? How long is this? Senior Vice President, Walt Disney Company details discriminatory hiring practices. Nobody else is going to tell you this, but they're not considering hiring any white males for the job. There's no way we're hiring a white male. Uses codes, words, and buzzwords to avoid legal action, and even mentions a candidate being rejected for not looking black enough. Giordano admits Disney gives bonuses to executives for practicing diversity, equity, and inclusion, agreeing that DEI helps with financial incentives. This is crazy. There's no way. All right. I'll look at this.
There's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's
This is the
spoken,
beginning.
but
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male person. They say
Like straight to you, or okay?
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
According to these videotapes, Disney
Okay, it is the news.
blatantly discriminates against white men in particular.
I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male. And that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
As a white guy, even Michael is his own
I go and I think about this, like, because this one guy saying it, and he's also a white guy, and he works there, and it seems like he didn't get a position. So there's a part of me that makes me think, like, maybe I shouldn't believe this entirely, because, like, it's a bit biased, right? It's an implicit bias. It is. It's an implicit bias. Now, I'm not saying, now, an implicit bias doesn't make somebody wrong, but it makes me take extra steps in verifying that they're right. You know what I mean?
doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney. In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for the job. They're just not.
That's what HR told them?
Yeah. Not who they want.
They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And
what the fuck? Oh my god.
There was a creative executive who was like, "We're not that's not what's going on."
The channel behind this video does conspiracy theories? Yeah, maybe it does. I'm not interested in other things that they did. Yeah, I don't really get, this guy could be full of shit with everything. I'm just listening to this.
They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way.
Why do I give a fuck?
And he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting. I mean,
yeah.
It kind of feels like at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
And that is a lawyer talking. So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices?
Yeah, what they say.
They use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there's acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. They might say something like, look, we're not looking at the usual suspects for this job.
Yeah.
So it's not a legally actionable thing. But
I would believe this. I do. I believe it's happening because you look at how much negative, look at everybody, right? Everybody's racist. And so everybody is racist, and you see how much racist shit is on Twitter, etc. I would believe this in a second. Absolutely. 100% is what's happening. Especially look at the kind of stuff that Disney makes nowadays. Come on. 100% this is what's probably happening. Well, not 100%, right? 100% this is what's probably happening. That's a little bit contradictory. But I would bet on this happening. Yeah, for sure.
Everybody knows what it means.
Yeah.
They, for writers and actors, we hear all the time, like, looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
Welcome to the Disney Tapes. My name is James O'Keefe, standing here in Burbank, California, outside Disney corporate headquarters. This is our first part in a series about blatant discrimination and woke policies at the Walt Disney Company. To say that the Disney Company has had a tumultuous 5 years, well, that would be an understatement.
Well, where's the rest of it? Is that the interview? Like,
major box office.
I don't give a shit about the rest of this. Where's the interview?
Hiring practices and introducing gay, lesbian, transgender, non-binary, and other characters into Disney's children's animated series and films.
Is it like an all-across thing, like all of HR, or there's like that one specific person that kind of like... Because I forgot
Good
the
question.
lady's name. She's the head of the...
Oh, I know you're talking about the head of the diversity, yeah.
The African-American lady, yeah. So is that like kind of her deciding?
You think it was a coincidence Disney changed the race of every remake? They didn't do every remake, but they did with a lot, yeah.
She oversees a lot of that, for sure.
He is sweating.
But it's pretty broad, I would say.
Damn,
There are
he's
other people in
sweating.
HR who are also focused on that. I would say a relatively large percentage of our top writer creators happen to be gay. And a lot of...
Just by happenstance.
I mean, like, just like if you say whatever, I don't know, whatever 10 or 15% of the population is gay.
It's like
I would
way
guess
less
they-
than that.
30 to 35% of our top writers are gay. And so I think a lot of them lean into trans stories more than your average straight writer would.
And in an odd
That's not bad. Like, that just means that there's nothing wrong with
twist,
that.
you have to be a white
Yeah.
Jewish guy to be considered for a C-suite job. More on that next week. But now,
Right.
let's meet Los Angeles-based Michael Giordano, a white male and Walt Disney's Senior Vice President of Business Affairs.
I do like business affairs, so like negotiations for television.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really
So
cool.
I'm not really like on the creative side. So it's a lot of it is, like knowing like the guild agreements and the union agreements and everything. Like make offers for the writers and the actors who are going to be out working on the show and the producers and the directors, and try to like, get to a place where we can close a deal with them, help the production to budget, and so much of my job is just the negotiating, really. And then other people are doing kind of the drafting of the contracts. So,
Oh, wow. So, yeah, what's the negotiating like?
I'm like sitting down trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna pay this actor for this role?
I don't think this guy works there anymore. Yeah, I've got a feeling he probably doesn't work there anymore either. Yeah. I could have guessed that.
think they want,
Oh, wow.
kind of
Yeah.
strategize that. Everything from how you produce a show, how you
Yeah.
distribute a show, how you exhibit a show, how you market a show, things like that. All of the negotiations.
Yeah, imagine if you worked for Boeing.
Like related to it.
Yeah.
One,
Be
well,
dead.
actually two of our brave undercover journalist and American Swiper investigative reporters met Michael on the dating app
Give me 1 second.
Hinge. And aside from this story, which focused on Disney's overt discrimination against white men, you'll see later on in this report, and it'll be quite entertaining, Michael turns out to be quite the ladies' man.
How long have you been on like dating out?
Not very long. 2.5
Have you been going out with...
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Don't care about
No.
this.
Let's
Focus, Like we have so many shows where we're casting and we're like, yeah, we're not even going to see, certain people for it because we need that particular role to
Yeah.
to
So is it intentional that they want, like, they only look for diverse candidates for
at
certain
times.
roles?
Yeah. I think there's certainly a belief that it's just good for society and a big goal. But there's also a belief that, like, we're going to make more money if we appeal to a wider variety of people. And it's a good thing. We have shareholders too, And so diversity helps with that.
Diversity helps with financial incentive.
No, she shifted the conversation. That's not what he said.
So is it like, do you think it's more so on that side?
That's not what he said. He said that the logic that they use is that if you have diversity, it will cause more people to watch it.
They're using like any good crisis that's put to use, or
That's different.
I think the Disney would do it regardless, but I think
Yeah, like the logic is that if you appeal to a wider audience with more diversity, you'll make more money, which is different than you are getting financial incentives for diversity. These are two different things.
there are like even conservative people who may not want to lean into it can easily make the argument that like we make more money when we appeal to a wider variety of people, and that means diversity.
He said shareholders. He said shareholders because
There's a real focus on every show.
I just explained it like
I'm sure the movies too, though I don't deal with that side of it. So, just making sure that the writers' room has a real, diversity, not just gender or sexual orientation and ethnicity, but making sure that they're hiring some writers who may have certain disabilities where they wouldn't have been hiring before. Or since there's kind of a really broad look whenever we're doing that to make sure that everybody gets.
So they talk a big game about DEI, but do they actually do it? Apparently so. They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion.
Okay, here we go.
They didn't look black enough.
All right, here it is.
We had a situation where we wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black.
Somebody brings up a good point in chat. They said all this is called into question for me because he's on dates trying to get laid. I mean, guys will say anything in situations like that, and they're clearly leading him into conversations and talking points. That's a good point. No, that's a good point. It's cope. No, every time that you hear something that's not directly aligned with your agenda, it's not cope. We're just trying to have a balanced conversation about it and understand the nuances of where people's biases might come from. That's it. Why would he lie? You're asking why a man would lie on a date? Are you really asking that?
And there was a creative executive who was like, "We're not that's not what's wrong." Like
they wanted the full.
They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting.
And so this is on the.
This was on the
corporate side, the business side.
I never understood that. Is it because I know a lot of I have a lot of black friends who are not as dark as So do they care about that, or it's the ethnicity actually?
They say they don't care about it, but the truth is, to some extent, they do.
Well, of course they care. Yeah, obviously.
If you're mixed, but you don't look black at all, which sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Then they're like, "Oh, I'm not so sure." But if you're mixed and you can tell somebody's part black, but they're not that black, so okay, that was still it's crazy.
But apparently Meghan Markle is black enough. You can't make this up.
So would make.
Yeah, this is nuts, bro. The thing is, if he's lying about the dumbest shit. No, but why would he lie on something that does not benefit him and make him look good on a date? So let me explain. So this is the logic and the thinking that leads you to that conclusion, and I think it makes sense. So the argumentation is that this guy is saying these things because do we have a video of this entire interaction start to finish that's uncut? Did they publish that video? No, they did not. Okay. So what people are, I assumed that, but I wanted to be sure. What people are saying, which I think is valid, is that he could be telling this woman what she wanted to hear because she asked him questions and led the conversation in that direction and indicated that she felt that way. So he would be more likely to more strongly emphasize these cases. They're basically she's asking him leading questions, and because he's trying to please her, because it seems like that's what she has a problem with, he's telling her what she wants to hear. And there are also two instances of this. There's the instance where he's telling her what she wants to hear because he's a liar. And there's also the instance that he's telling her what she wants to hear, and it also happens to be the truth. So in this conversation, there could be a lot of false positives here. And I think that not acknowledging that is naive. I'm not saying that he's lying. But I'm also not saying that you should believe everything that he's saying as the truth, because it could very well be structured in a way that if you watch the entire video, you would see that she asked him leading questions, and then he answered them in a way that he thought that she would want to hear. It's incredibly important to be skeptical about things like this, especially whenever it aligns with your worldview. You're guessing? I am guessing. I want to make this completely clear. I'm 100% guessing. I don't know that. I'm making as much of an educated decision and thought on this as I possibly can.
Again, Mariko, who's pretty white.
Right. Yeah.
Would she be considered?
She would still be
diverse,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
or
Huh? As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney, saying, quote,
You'd be guessing that it's 100% true, to be honest? Yeah. Why would a guy talk like that so openly? I don't know. It could be there could be also 10 different reasons as well. Like, he could be drunk, number one. He could be trying to act like a big shot at Disney, number two. Number three, he could be telling her what she wants to hear just so he can fuck her. Number four, he could have been passed over for a promotion at Disney and felt that this was the reason, so created this narrative in his head. Was that number three? Yeah. You see what I'm saying, right? And so there's a lot of this. I like number three. You think number three? I don't know. But what I'm telling you is that I think it's incredibly important to be skeptical about this stuff. Being honest and opening up to her, I bet this is like a few months into their dating. I don't know. And also, that's a really great point that you bring up, that we don't know if this was the first date or something like that. Because even if they say this is the first date, that doesn't mean it was.
as far as Disney is concerned, I'm a white male.
Right now, I'm like a half step below a department head. I have a team under me, but I don't oversee a whole department. And I'd like to oversee a whole department, whether that's at Disney or having to lead. So.
Okay. Do you think that you'll have the opportunity at Disney?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think I'm sort of like well prepared.
We only know he works at Disney from his Hinge and LinkedIn profile. I think that if you have it on your LinkedIn profile, it's probably not a lie. Like I would not assume that it would be a lie.
For it. I'm well positioned for it, but as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male, and that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
See, this is what I was thinking. You see what I'm saying?
So,
Oh, do you think that has a lot to do with it?
I don't know a lot. But
That's what I was saying.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think the competition is?
Oh, I mean, I've been up for jobs internally against people who have less experience than me, and you know, haven't gotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were given to somebody else. Do you think it had something to do with their...
In one or two cases, you know, I was told very explicitly that it did. Yeah.
Explicitly how? What did they tell
Oh,
you?
I mean, I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions.
We already
and
saw
look,
this.
Nobody else is going to tell
Yeah.
you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for this job. They're just not.
Yeah.
That's not what they want.
And so it's probably fair that Disney would say, we don't want a white person to
And
play.
you can see how she's obviously leading the question, right? I mean, like, she is obviously leading the question. So it calls into question whether he actually means these things or he's saying them because he's being prompted because he wants to fuck the girl. Obviously. That's the reason why. Duh.
This role.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very careful about they're very careful about messaging because they don't want to get to open discrimination in either direction. But certainly there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male person. They say
Like straight to you? Or, okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
In like email or whatever.
Right, but
After getting a dose of Disney's discrimination himself, it seems like Michael may have been hit with a reality check that discrimination against people based upon race is probably not cool.
I mean, it kind of feels like at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because.
I feel like that's most of the stuff. So this is generally what I think about this. There's a lot of complexity to this, and I think that the people that are obviously writing it off or writing it on are. I don't think that you can be sure that what he's saying is true, but I think that what he's saying is true. Like if I had to guess, I think that he's telling most of the truth. I would assume that there is probably some degree of exaggeration here. And the reason why I think that is because, number one, it seems like he's being asked leading questions. Number two, it seems like he's probably telling the girl that he's on a date with what she wants to hear. A lot of guys do that. Number three, he's drunk. And number four, he was passed over for a promotion and he perceives this to be the reason. So all of these four things make him more likely in my mind to lie. Now, more likely to lie doesn't mean that you're lying. But it makes me not 100% sure that you're not lying. So I don't know really whether he's telling the truth entirely, but I think that I think that what he's saying probably does happen to an extent. One of you ever known someone to not rat out their company for stuff like this? Everyone complains about work. Yeah, they do complain about work, but what I also know is that everybody who's complained about like any situation that I've been in, the way that they explain the situation is very different than what the situation normally is. So one thing that I've noticed, like, for example, like people will say, oh, well, everybody was out to get me. And then you find out, actually, I wasn't showing up on time. So no, I don't I don't believe somebody like that because I've been on both sides of that many times. Is he complaining or just rambling? I mean, it's probably both, right? I mean, like, let's be honest. His LinkedIn ever since got deleted. Yeah, of course he deleted his LinkedIn. Like, of course he did, right? I mean, he got filmed without his consent, and then it got published, and people turned it into like a narrative, and like the girl that he thought he was in a relationship with was actually a reporter. Yeah, that sucks for him, right? It's really bad for him that this happened, and like it fucked up his life. Like, it's bad, and so like of course he would delete his stuff. So yeah, probably shouldn't have talked about his job. Well, I mean, look, you can talk about like, oh, should you have done that or not? Like, who cares, right? But like, it doesn't. I don't really give a shit what happens to him. Like, who cares? I don't know this guy. All I'm saying is like, yeah, I can see it from his perspective. His life is like very, very, very fucked. So was this legal? I mean, I think so, yeah, because they're in a public place, and so recording somebody in a public place is legal. Now, is it unethical? It's absolutely unethical. Like, it's super, super immoral, unethical. It's not good to do this, like from an ethical perspective. But is it illegal? No, it's not illegal. So yeah. And he got screwed. You just want to have sex? Ironic? Yeah, there you go. And so the thing is, he thought he was in the right. These are the kind of people we need to get rid of. Well, I think it's good to see this happen, right? And I do think that there are a lot of people who do think like this, and they do behave like this. The reason why is that people have always used coded language to prevent different people that they don't want to get hired from being hired, right? Whether it's family values to get rid of gay people, whether it's traditional values to get rid of black people, or whether it's the usual suspects to get rid of white people. I feel like this is a very common practice. And if you look at, for example, any sort of instance of any racism, there's always going to be a degree of like kind of talking around it, right? So yeah, they should have censored his face at least. His job opportunities might be damned now. Well, I don't take that up with them. I don't care. So yeah. You don't have to overanalyze it. He's at least 80% true. We're seeing it in Disney for sure. Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. I would believe him more than I would not believe him, but I would take everything that he's saying with a grain of salt. That's my analysis. You know, like, this wouldn't be proof to me, but it would be evidence, if that makes sense. I'm getting paid from Disney? Am I really? I hope so. That'd be great. They got a lot of money. You know, this is what happens whenever I talk about a topic like this, is that whenever I inject any nuance and any type of critical analysis and critical thinking into a topic like this, I have the NPCs that have been programmed by different political arms of the multi-billion-dollar international companies that are designed to brainwash them into thinking like robots and behaving like animals. They get very upset and angry at me because I say, yes, I think some of this is happening, or yes, I think this guy might just be telling the girl he wants to have sex with what she wants to hear. So I want to let you guys know, for if you're in one of those two camps, that I enjoy upsetting you. The fact that you are unhappy makes me happy, and I like the fact that you're mad, and I'm going to keep doing it. So it doesn't matter. And this is, again, remember what I was saying before about how the culture teaches people not to critically think about issues? I think this is a great example of that, is that you cannot critically analyze something like this without coming into contact with things that do not align with the extremist political dogma that people in this culture have. And I think this is a great example of why people do not critically analyze things anymore, is because whenever you use your brain, you come into contact and you come into conflict with people who don't. And the reality is that there are a lot of people who don't use their brain, and most people don't want to fight and argue with that. So yeah, that's what's happening. This is another example of why critical thinking in our culture is going away, is because if you analyze any type of behavior or anything like this without completely having a one-sided view of it, you will attract people who think that you are being paid by Disney. Even though you say it's 80% true, you think they're doing it, and that what Disney is doing is bad. Somehow that's not enough for them because you're not following their NPC programming down to the T. So yes, I wanted to bring that up. But yeah, people can't look at nuance because, yeah, it's because they're stupid. That's why. It's really not that complicated. It's literally that. There's no... That's it. That's what it is. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Yeah, exactly. One worldview, Andes. Yeah, exactly. You have to follow the story thread and not break from it, Asmon. Otherwise, the house of cards fall down. Yeah, so that's the way I feel about it. And again, I think this guy's telling the truth. A lot of what he's saying, I don't believe everything he's saying, but I don't know what to believe and what not to believe because I have no frame of reference for that. But I do think that most of what he's saying is probably true. Yeah. So team sports, you're either 100% on one side or the other. Yep, there it is.